You know, on that day, we all remember where we were. I know myself, I was in the newsroom and I was watching it on TV, and everyone was kind of confused as to what was going on at first. But then when you saw the second plane hit, then you knew this is bad. Something is serious here. And, you know, all of a sudden that newsroom lit up and everyone started going everywhere in the city. One person that I talked to from Sarasota, though, Alan Silva, where he was on 9/11, he was in the Trade Center.
When the first building got struck, and we didn't know it was hit, okay, we were being told that we needed to evacuate our building. We got down to the 42nd floor, and another announcement came over the speakers that our building was secure and that we could go back to our offices and our training rooms. So I was proceeding back up to the 62nd floor.
Were you in an elevator? Were you walking?
I was on one of these express elevators, not realizing it. I went from the 42nd to the 44th floor. When I got out of the elevator, within moments, the plane struck the building. So
Could you feel that when the plane struck? Could you feel it? Could you hear it? Could you sense anything?
All of it. All of it. When it struck, the area filled up with smoke immediately. Glass was beginning to break. Ceiling tiles were falling. I mean, the building literally rumbled and shook.
Well, what are you thinking at this time? Because you have no idea that a plane's hit this.
Had no idea whatsoever. Had no idea whatsoever. So immediately, my first thought was that a bomb went off. You know, that it had to happen on our floor, or just above, or just below. But it was that muffled, rumbling, just awful sound that you hear sometimes in the distance like thunder. But the building really literally began to waver and shake, if you will, and there were tremors and there was smoke. So I remember, you know, grabbing a gal by the back of her blouse, picking her up off the floor and saying, we need to get the hell out of here right now. And this is a vivid memory of mine, that people were being assisted, you know, getting down the stairs. Some were having physical difficulty just getting out of the building. And you could see so many people, you know, grabbing the arms of others and working with them to get them out.
As you're going down 44 flights, are you passing any firefighters, anyone like that?
Now, I would say for 40 to 45 minutes, give or take, it took us that long to get down to that concourse below the first floor of the World Trade Center. It was like a shopping mall. That's when I first saw the first firefighters. These guys were rushing into what they knew was certain danger. Did they know that the building was going to collapse? Probably not. But did they know that there was something here that was probably beyond their ability to really deal with? Probably yes, you know. And I don't, you know, I just can't say enough about the courage and heroism of these people.
Tell me a bit about the chaos of the situation around the World Trade Center towers at that time when you're exiting the building. Well, we've all seen the pictures. Yeah. People everywhere.
Yeah, it was people everywhere, horror, and you could see the horror in people's eyes. I mean, the disbelief. You know, I think the first thoughts I had was, the word surreal comes to mind. Is this really happening? I mean, is it really, really happening? So, you know, there was just thousands of people all around looking up. Everybody's just simply looking up in horror.
When you were outside and moving away, trying to get away from the area, did you actually see any of the buildings come down, or was that out of your line of sight when that happened?
I saw our building come down, but I was about 4 or 5 blocks away when I began to see what looked to me, when I kept looking back as I was walking away, when I began to see what I thought at least was another explosion, that there was just more smoke, more clouds happening around the top of our building. And then suddenly you could see it, you know, the word evaporate comes to mind. It just began to evaporate, you know, from sight, you know, it just began to crumble. And you could see all of the debris and everything else flying away in all the photographs that you've seen.
That must have been horrifying to see.
It was absolutely just beyond belief.
Do you think about it often? Does it pop in? It may not be every day, but do you?
It's not every day, but I do think about it. I think about it in the ways of, let's never forget. Let's always be vigilant and remember not only the heroics of the day by certain individuals, but how fortunate we are as a country, how fortunate I am personally to have been able to survive, you know, that day, that, you know, that we are a great country, that we've rebounded the way we have. So I think of how fortunate we are, you know, collectively, you know, as a country, as a people.
You're looking at World Trade 1 now. That tower is going to be 400 feet taller than the former World Trade Center towers. It's going to have a spire on top of an antenna. That's going to bring it to a height of 1,776 feet. 1776, no coincidence. That's a key date in our history. The bottom is really interesting, though. That bottom there on the tower is basically just a solid wall. The first 20 floors, there's no office buildings in the first 20 floors there. It's just a way to get into the elevators. It's a bunch of steel beams and rebar and just coated with concrete, and that's because it's so close to the road. They wanted to prevent any possibility of an attack from the road if something were to happen. So you're looking basically at a blast wall there. Again, they're continuing to put up things here for the memorial coming tomorrow. And, we were talking about the emotion earlier. Yesterday was emotional, today's emotional. Tomorrow is going to be absolutely overwhelming. Back to you guys.
Thanks, John, and we'll check in with you tomorrow morning starting at 6. Tomorrow, there are a number of events across the Tampa Bay area commemorating the